Hello and welcome to Meals Ready to Eat. I'm your host, Sean Patterson, and today we're making the recipe that you'll want to make anytime you can't think of anything else to make. Chicken Fettuccine Alfredo. Jumping into the ingredients list, let's get started with some extra virgin olive oil. I always prefer Italian extra virgin olive oil. It has a really pleasant flavor and it's not at all bitter typically. Also, select 2 very fresh chicken breasts. Set aside some Himalayan pink sea salt and some ground white pepper. We're also going to need a few cloves of garlic. Next, get out your heavy whipping cream. Personally, I always prefer pasteurized over ultra-pasteurized. As with any Alfredo sauce, we are going to need some aged Parmigiano-Reggiano cheese. Start by shredding about 1/4 to 1/2 cup, leaving some aside for garnishment. We will also need some unsalted butter, figure 2 to 4 tablespoons. A really nice twist to this recipe is to use sun-dried tomatoes. They really bring out a nice, extra fruity sort of flavor. It's a nice contrast to the salty cream of the Alfredo sauce. I always recommend rolling fresh pasta. Fresh pasta not only cooks faster, but it also really has such a nice consistency when you're putting it into your mouth. You can really tell the difference between fresh pasta and the stuff that you would buy at the store. You'll note that in a prior episode I have actually shown you how to make fresh pasta, so go ahead and refer back to that for specific recipe details. After you've rolled out the pasta and let it dry for just a couple of minutes, go ahead and cut it with the fettuccine attachment. Now, one of the things that you can do with the chicken, in addition to seasoning the chicken before cooking it, go ahead and pat it dry and tenderize it, and then cover it in the white pepper, although you could use black pepper as well as the salt. Now go ahead and heat the pan, medium heat, and then add some olive oil. Get the olive oil a bit hot, and then go ahead and add the chicken. As I have said before, cooking chicken is all about getting it to the right temperature. What you're looking for is about 165 degrees Fahrenheit. No less, no more. Go ahead and season it with salt and pepper on the other side if you haven't already done so as it's cooking. Once the chicken begins to brown on one side, go ahead and flip it over. Now remember, with chicken, in this recipe, you don't need to necessarily cook it all the way through before you remove it, because what we're going to be doing is slicing and then adding it back in to finish off the cooking. You'll see what I mean in a minute. So here's that chicken starting to look a nice golden brown color. We're just about to the point where we can take it out and let it sit. The reason you want to let it sit, of course, is because it allows the chicken to reabsorb the juices. Now let's get to making the Alfredo sauce. Go ahead by smashing and peeling the garlic. In this case, I'm using 3 cloves. If you like garlic, use 4. If you don't like it as much, use 2. Go ahead and chop the garlic finely. And set it aside while you heat up the olive oil for the sauce on the skillet. Go ahead and heat the skillet on medium again, add some olive oil, and then toss in your garlic. Once the garlic begins to brown, go ahead and deglaze it with white wine. Deglazing the pan with white wine sauce also gives an extra flavor to the Alfredo sauce, which gives it that sort of gourmet feel that you can't get from store-bought Alfredo sauce. Go ahead and cook down the wine. Now go ahead and add 1 cup of cream. Whisk this all together. Continue whisking as the cream begins to heat up and begins to simmer. Now while that cream is heating, feel free to slice the chicken crosswise. You'll notice here too that the chicken isn't quite cooked. This is partly because it's so thick, but that's alright because the cooking process will finish later on when we add the chicken to the Alfredo sauce. As the cream begins to bubble, gradually add the Parmigiano-Reggiano cheese and whisk continuously to assure a uniform sauce. If you were to stop whisking and not continue blending the cheese and the cream sauce, what you would find is a very glumpy sort of Alfredo sauce. That's exactly what we're trying to avoid. So go ahead and keep whisking. Don't be afraid, just keep whisking. Part of the job of the Parmigiano-Reggiano is to thicken the sauce. Once the Parmigiano-Reggiano is thoroughly mixed together and in a uniform fashion, add the white pepper. Go ahead and whisk that in completely. Now that the sauce is basically finished, you can finish cooking the chicken in the sauce. Cook that chicken to a minimum of 160 degrees Fahrenheit or 71 degrees Celsius. Now go ahead and finish the sauce by melting in 2 to 3 tablespoons of butter. So go ahead and toss the cooked pasta and the sun-dried tomatoes in with the sauce. Then go ahead and plate it. Finish this dish off with Parmigiano-Reggiano and, optionally, some white truffle oil. Season it with red or pink sea salt. And there you have it. Bon appetit! From Meals Ready to Eat, I'm your host, Sean Patterson. Find us online at youtube.com/mealsreadytoeat. All of your comments and subscriptions are greatly appreciated. This has been an Aperture Web Productions production. Find Aperture Web Productions online at aperturewebproductions.com and follow Aperture Web Productions on Twitter at Aperture Web.